Hello, welcome to our masterclass for the month. We are going to be talking about unexplained infertility today. I want to make sure that our audio is good. And I'm going to share my screen, get all set up here. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about unexplained infertility, how it's diagnosed, why there's more tests that are needed, what else can contribute to infertility that is beyond what a reproductive endocrinologist would be looking at, and some things you can start doing today to support your fertility. So just a quick intro for those of you that I haven't met yet. I'm Courtney Saye. I'm a certified functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner with advanced training in hormone, gut, and thyroid health, as well as functional blood chemistry analysis. I work with women, primarily with women and couples who are struggling with unexplained infertility, some that are doing preconception prep before they try to conceive. And I ended up in this line of work because of my own personal struggle. I went through a second trimester miscarriage and years of secondary infertility. So I really relate and understand to my clients whose path has not been incredibly easy. I've been through the fertility treatments and the cycle after cycle of, hundreds of pregnancy tests that didn't work and no real support or answers. So that's how I ended up here and a little bit about my background. Okay, so today, like I said, we're going to talk about unexplained infertility. This is the diagnosis a lot of times given to couples when they've gone through initial testing and nothing is found on those tests. A lot of times fertility treatments are recommended as the next path forward. Excuse me, I'm going to shut the door real quick. Okay, so when this happens, a lot of times fertility treatments are the next path forward, and the tests that are done are fairly limited. So we're going to talk about those today. This is the agenda. So this traditional method of how it looks when you decide you want to try to conceive, what testing looks like on that side, and how do you get to the diagnosis, functional lab testing that goes beyond the reproductive systems, common issues I see with my unexplained infertility clients, and what you can do today to start supporting your fertility if you're in this position of unexplained infertility. Okay, so here's the traditional route. If you are at the point of a unexplained infertility diagnosis, it is probably very familiar. You go to your OBGYN or your primary care provider and they say, try for 6 months to a year, take a prenatal vitamin, come back if things aren't progressing, you're not pregnant or you're having miscarriages. At that point, they'll run some limited tests. They'll do a day 3 hormone draw. They will make sure you're ovulating, make sure your tubes are open. They'll have your partner do a semen analysis. And if they don't find anything, they'll say, it's unexplained infertility. We don't know what's wrong. We don't know what's causing it. Sometimes there's a little issue that's off, like something like marginally hormonal issues, and they'll still say unexplained infertility. And the route is pretty generic from there. A lot of times it looks like letrozole or Clomid, IUI, and then IVF with retrieval and egg transfers. So that's what the traditional route looks like. My clients end up coming to me, excuse me. Some of them at the point of they're saying, I don't know what's wrong, go to fertility treatments. A lot of them have been through month after failed fertility cycles. Many of them have giant loans outstanding from those failed fertility cycles. And they've said they've known all along something else is going on in my body. And the doctors keep saying the tests are normal and nothing's wrong. But I feel in my heart and my gut and my soul that something else is wrong. And inevitably, we do find things on tests that we run that are pointing to something being wrong, contributing to their infertility. But here are a few of the symptoms that people will come to us with. Fatigue, feeling tired all of the time, like you have absolutely no energy. Gut symptoms, they range from abdominal pain to constipation to diarrhea to food sensitivities. Lacking appetite. Some people will wake up and feel kind of nauseous and not want to eat anything until noon and just drink coffee all morning. The mood changes. So a lot of anxiety, depression, brain fog, trouble concentrating, headaches, acne, like painful periods, PMS, PMDD, really heavy flow or light flow, like all of those are signs that there's a deeper dysfunction going on in the body. These symptoms are not the problem. They are a sign of a deeper problem going on. So in functional health, we are looking for what is actually causing these symptoms, not, you have a headache, take an Advil, that can work temporarily, but there's something deeper going on in your body that's causing that symptom. Symptoms are your body screaming at you that something else is going on that you need to pay attention to. So again, traditional testing is really, really focused on the reproductive system. These are a lot of the tests that they tend to run on a standard reproductive endocrinology, sometimes with your OBGYN, but usually you're referred out at that point. And they're really focused on the reproductive system. And the difference between allopathic Western medicine and functional health is that they are kind of separating the body into different systems that can be looked at individually. The reproductive system by itself in a box. Okay, maybe you'll find something. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they find something wrong there that they have a path forward for correcting and you get pregnant and it's beautiful. A lot of times they don't, right? And it's unexplained infertility, but that doesn't mean something else isn't wrong. So let me hop to the next slide. The way we look at the body is at one interconnected being, if you will. Your fertility is going beyond your reproductive system. So here are some of the things that we're looking at from a functional lens that are directly impacting your reproductive system that are like blinders on in the medical world, because those are different specialties. Like that's not how they're trained in medical school. It's not their fault. It's not knocking them. They have a lot of great things to offer and training, but it's different. They are looking at one system in the body as a standalone system that isn't impacted by all of this other stuff. And you would go to a GI doctor for your gut. You would go to an endocrinologist for your thyroid. It's all separated out, and these specialties don't work together in a cohesive way. So anyway, enough of my soapbox there. The gut is super important. Your hormones are synthesized and detoxified in the gut. The microbiome balance is super important. We find things like H. pylori infections a lot in clients with unexplained infertility. Sometimes there's gluten insensitivity or gluten sensitivity that they didn't know about before, trouble digesting fats, candida overgrowth, you name it. The gut is super important, and this all has direct impacts on your hormone health. The thyroid. So a lot of times people come to me and they'll say, oh, I already had my thyroid tested and it's good. And then they'll send me their lab from their doctor and it is TSH or TSH and T4. And the lab ranges for the thyroid are like, let's just use TSH for simplicity. It's up to 4.5. And their thyroid's at 3.2. And they have all kinds of symptoms of thyroid dysfunction. And their doctor said, thyroid looks good because it's not clinical hypothyroidism. Anything over 2 in the functional world is not where we want to see TSH. That's indicating slower than optimal thyroid function. And this really controls ovulation in a big way. If your thyroid's not functioning appropriately, it's hard to ovulate or ovulate well enough to carry a pregnancy. So sometimes we see frequent early miscarriages. And like I said, the testing in Western medicine tends to be very incomplete. The HPA axis is another place that is directly related to your hormone system. Then this is your body's ability to biochemically handle stress. And think of it as sitting up here above your sex hormones. The HPA axis there's 3 kinds of stress that impact it. One is emotional, and that's what most of us think of as stress. My husband's driving me crazy. I'm stressed about finances. I lost my job. My cat died. That's emotional stress. Physical stress, I see a lot of cases of undereating, overexercise. Those are super common, especially in women, because we grew up with all of these messages around diet that were confusing, and we think that eating 1,500 calories a day is enough to support hormonal health. That's a physical stressor. Biochemical stress is things like There's an H. pylori infection in my gut going on. There's bacterial dysbiosis going on. All three of these kinds of stress put stress on the HPA axis, which eventually, if the HPA axis is chronically stressed, is going to dysregulate. And your cortisol response, which is healthy and there to respond to acute stressors, is going to go out of whack. And eventually, it's going to not produce enough, which is going to impact your sex hormones downstream. Another thing that is a big impact on infertility that I see a lot in my unexplained infertility clients is nutrient and mineral status. A lot of times it's deficiencies. Sometimes it's too much of something, because a lot of people will like try a bunch of different supplements because they're frustrated and they see this stuff online and this worked for their friend. And some people will have too much of a few things going on, which is also not good. And it directly impacts your cellular health, and your cellular health is your reproductive health. And if these are out of whack, your body cannot produce adequate and balanced sex hormones. So these are compromised by a number of things. Like, a lot of people are like, but I'm eating healthy. Well, if you're eating healthy and you have malabsorption going on in the gut, you're not going to get there. If you're under extreme stressors in all three of these categories and it's not being managed, you're going to have issues with nutrients and minerals. If you used hormonal birth control in the past, if you followed a vegetarian or vegan diet or anything otherwise very restrictive, you're likely going to have some deficiencies going on there. And I haven't seen anyone come to me that has only been working with a Western medicine doctor that's had any of this stuff run. So if you're not looking at this, you can't say, I mean, you can, they call it unexplained infertility, but really it's just infertility that they don't know the cause of yet, because their training is only around looking at the reproductive system. Okay, so I want to give you guys some tips of things you can do today to start supporting your fertility. If this is you, if you're sitting in this position, you've been through these tests, you're in the middle of fertility treatments, or you're considering doing them, and you don't know what else is going on in your body, you feel like something else is wrong, here's a few things you can start doing on your own now. So you want to consume at least 100 grams of protein every day. Animal protein is the best source of complete protein. When I've worked with vegans and vegetarians, it's incredibly hard to get enough complete protein in your diet without animal protein. So you want to consume 6 to 10 servings of colorful produce a day. Vegetables are great, but fruit is also great. Organic if you can afford it, especially on like the Dirty Dozen. You can pull that up and follow that if you want to do limited organic purchases. If you have any known autoimmune disease or known thyroid condition where you're like, I've already been diagnosed with a thyroid issue, avoid gluten. It is a big autoimmune trigger. And the thing with gluten is you've got to avoid it completely. So it's not like I am having bread on Saturdays. If you have gluten once, it can inflame your immune system for a few months. So you want to avoid gluten completely. A lot of people who are sensitive to gluten also have dairy sensitivities. So that's another thing to consider if you have any thyroid or other autoimmune conditions going on that you know about. I don't do supplement recommendations generically when I'm not working with clients, but one thing that is a nutrient and mineral support that can be helpful for a lot of people is an organ meat complex. Paleo Valley has a good one that you can buy retail if you're not working with a practitioner. Just want to note, like in bold, this is not a substitute for a prenatal. Some people are like, oh, I'm taking that instead of a prenatal. No, it's not enough. But that could be a helpful one for a lot of people. If you are doing a lot of cardio, Peloton, Orange Theory, HIIT workouts, you want to cut those out, especially in this state where, look, everyone who comes to me that's dealing with unexplained infertility is under a lot of stress. Just the process of going through all of this is a lot of stress. And these workouts are additional stress on the body. So reduce or eliminate those. And I tell most people to eliminate them. If you really want to do them like in the follicular phase and ovulatory phase a little bit. But for most people, you're best off to avoid those type of workouts while you're in this period of trying to get your body back into homeostasis. Supporting your nervous system is also super helpful. One thing you can start to do on your own, if you don't have a practice yet, is journaling. When you get up in the morning, grab a piece of paper. It doesn't even have to be a journal, like whatever you have where you can scribble down. I don't care if it's your note section in your phone and then you delete it. Write or type for 5 to 10 minutes. And if you don't know what to write or type, start with how do I want to feel at the end of the day? That's a great question to start with. And then also a meditation or prayer practice. So this can look like a 10-minute guided meditation on Spotify on your lunch break. It can look like that in the evening, like find a quiet place, and that will help reset your nervous system and take you back into out of fight or flight state. And the more often you can do it, the better for your nervous system. And that's got direct impacts on your HPA axis and downstream on your sex hormones. And then consider functional lab testing. A lot of those interconnected systems that we talked about earlier, the gut, the thyroid, all of that, we look at on functional lab testing. So consider that and practitioner support so that you're getting, targeted recommendations and ongoing support if that's something that you're interested in and want to pursue. If not, look at the screenshot this list that's up right now and start with one at a time. Don't try to do everything all at once. Habit stack. Do one for 2 or 3 weeks, then add another one on, and start making sure that these recommendations are a part of your everyday practice. Now, this is another big one where I tell people, if you're only going to focus on one thing, you're going to take away one thing from what I'm saying here. Focus on stabilizing your blood sugar. Blood sugar dysregulation, insulin resistance are a huge problem. It's not just diabetics or PCOS. It's like close to 90% of the population. And it can wreak havoc on your thyroid, on your HPA axis. It can trigger autoimmunity, and it can weaken your endocrine system, which is really hard to produce hormones at the right levels. A continuous glucose monitor for 30 days is a great idea. There's a bunch of them on the market where you can go get it on your own. You don't have to try to go through your doctor and have insurance deny it and then say, I can't do it. There's lots of companies. I like Thea Health. There's a few others that are good that are coming on market. Stabilizing your blood sugar, whether you have the continuous glucose monitor to tell you what in your life, your food, your stress, your sleep, your alcohol, your sugar intake is impacting you, like with data, it's because it's on your arm. If you don't do that, focus on the things I talked about in the last slide around eating enough high quality protein daily. You want to start with 30 grams with your breakfast and eat it within 60 minutes of getting up. Don't eat any naked carbs. And this one is usually tough for people to wrap their head around. Is apples are healthy, bananas are healthy. Put some protein and fat with those. Grab some peanut butter, grab a handful of nuts, grab a beef jerky stick, a little piece of cheese if you can do dairy. Don't have any naked carbs. The other tip around that is if you're a coffee drinker, save the coffee for after your breakfast. That will help stabilize your blood sugar too if you've had that breakfast with at least 30 grams of protein. And then the other things that help stabilize blood sugar, sleep hygiene, making sure you're getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep in a dark, cool room. All electronics are out of the bedroom and turned off. Gentle movement every day. Don't overdo the exercise. That can actually spike your blood sugar. And then the stress management techniques that we talked about. Okay, so if you are this is all great, I want some more support with us, what does support look like? We have a 6-month one-on-one program where I work directly with clients and we run functional labs, the labs we were talking about earlier. We have professional support. So we do Zoom calls 8 times during the 6-month program. And we are constantly back and forth within the app messaging about lifestyle factors, back and forth on questions about the labs, tweaking the protocols. So it's not just the meetings you would have like you would have with a physician, for example. We've got a ton of in-between support, and email too works, but we do a lot of it in our app. And then results. Functional fertility programs get about an 80% success rate with natural pregnancy once you've gone through the program. So that is kind of the method of what things look like. And the labs that we run are the standard labs we run in the GI map. This is the gut test. The Dutch is a stress and hormone profile, a really deep micronutrient and mineral panel, the full thyroid panel we talked about, and then the MTHFR is a genetic test to see if there's a mutation on that gene, which can have a pretty big impact on fertility. Okay, this is a snapshot for you more analytical folks in the room of what the program looks like. So when you sign up for the program, you order your labs, those get shipped out. You fill out an intake form, your food and mood log, and we start immediately with an onboarding call to talk about lifestyle factors and then what is called drainage to make sure that your lymph, your kidneys, your colon are draining appropriately to support any future detox protocols that we need to do depending on what we see on your gut test. Your tests start to come in, you are set recorded results and recommendation sessions and digestible tidbits so that you can view and review if you need to what came back on those labs. So you have the lab report, and then we've got a walkthrough of what we're seeing on that and any recommendations that we have from those labs. The first protocol we start with beyond drainage and lifestyle is always mineral balancing and nutrient support. And this is because that protocol, and it's customized depending on what we find in your lab, that protocol is super supportive for cellular health and energy. A lot of people have like major symptom relief and start to feel better from underlying things that they have going on with this protocol. So we do that for 30 days, and then we layer on top any gut protocols that are needed. And that really depends on what we find on your gut test. If we need to eradicate H. pylori or bacterial overgrowth or candida, and then support any rebuilding in the gut or help with fat digestion, really depends on what we find there. The average for these are about 90 days. So when you're looking at that, you're looking at getting us out to about month 6, and it really depends on like how quick you order the test, how quickly you get your samples to the labs, and how quickly you're ordering any supplement protocols you need. But we're moving into about month 5 at this point, and then we're doing program wrap. Okay, so I try to keep that short and sweet to about 20 minutes. And if you want to talk deeper about any of this, or you want to have a consult about your specific case, something in the air today, about your specific case to talk about if this one-on-one program is right for you, feel free to hop onto my Instagram. There is a Calendly link, and you can book your consult there. It's at Fertility Functionally. You can send me an email too. If you just want to connect with me, tell me your story, tell me what kind of content would be helpful for you as a community member here or on Instagram. Also, feel free to send me a DM. I love connecting with everyone in the community, whether they're going to be a client or not. So please reach out and say hello. And thank you for coming, and have a great rest of your day.